Sunday is gloomy, my hours are slumberless. Dear, it's the shadows I live with are numberless. Little white flowers will never awaken you, not where the black coach of sorrow has taken you. Angels have no thought of ever returning you. Would they be angry if I thought of joining you? Gloomy Sunday.
The Wikipedia entry on the iris is handy for anyone looking for a crash course in this lovely flower and its place in botany, biology, home gardening, and art. Iris is the largest genus of the family Iridaceae, with up to 300 species. In general, modern classifications recognize 6 subgenera: Iris, Limniris, Ziphium, Nepalensis, Scorpirus, Hermodactyloides. Each genus is distinguished by whether it grows from a bulb or from creeping rootstocks, as well as the presence or absence of a beard, literally tiny hairs on the flower itself. Although the flowers come in a variety of colors, purple is perhaps the most popular. I remember my mother laughing on the phone, standing at a counter, hands busy, body half turned away. I try to trace myself through her and through women whom I only know by first name: Marna, Deborah, Doris, Grace, Alice, Emma. Husbands and brothers and fathers come and go. They're here, then in Sister Bay, then Chicago. They're working, they're irresponsible, they're leaving. Faithless as thunder, that is their one constant. I have no pictures of Alice, but I know she was English. I imagine that she had nut brown hair and liked the color blue. Doris was cheerful and long-suffering. I knew her with thinning blonde hair, gooey pink lipstick, and enormous eyeglasses, a crystal dish full of gumdrops, a musty mint green couch. She drew her eyebrows in every day, and when she was in the hospital for a couple of months, her husband moved his mistress into their house. When Doris was well again, she moved in with her mother and sister, and the husband took his mistress and his son down to Chicago. Grace was her big sister, bossy and critical. She never married and never had children, but she dated the same man for 40 years, until he died of tuberculosis. She wore pencil skirts, even in the house, and her pantyhose never had a run. Debbie was too much, all the time. She painted and sewed and ran a colorful boutique that sold seasonally themed socks. She married at 19, divorced, married again. She was highly gifted, an alcoholic, and highly critical of her children. Emma made her own greeting cards, with thick paper and pressed flowers. Her favorites were irises. If I could find a common thread here, I think it would help me understand why I am the way I am, why I do the things I do. I could say I come from women who suffered in silence and pride at the hands of careless men. But what about Debbie's tantrums? What about the bravery inherent in my mother's divorce? I could say I come from women who made things happen, both casseroles and funerals, female firebrands in the family history, who loved men and left them with ease. But then what about Doris, who underwent a double mastectomy and accepted that she would never again know the love of a man? What about Grace, who loved like a wife for decades and never married? What about me? What about the fact that the process of blooming involves a tremendous amount of solar energy, this growth that necessitates breakage? And who do we get to be without the men we leave, and the men who leave us? The iris is an irregular flower. Its shape is frilly and hard to draw or follow with the eye. Some of its petals fold up and others fold down. It flirts with the viewer. It hides part of itself away. But it cannot hide the fact that it dares to be purple, or that it retains a shape that is unmistakably, suggestively, even obscenely female? Do the tiny hairs on the low-hanging petals ever prick up? With fear? With cold? With longing? Do they ever sense what's coming next? Daughters remember their mothers the way they'd like to be, or the way they fear they'll turn out. It doesn't really matter what our mothers were actually doing. The veracity of the events is irrelevant. My mother says she went salsa dancing. I never saw her so much as twirl. She met with patients, business partners, other doctors, one college friend. But in the fruitless exercise of tracing myself through mothers, the only thing worth telling is what I remember. And what I'm saying is I remember my mother laughing on the phone.